Welcome back to For Goodness Sake, where as a former Mormon, I take a look at the good things I carry with me into my new, more secular worldview. Today's topic is worldview universality. And what I mean by that is, how does one's view of the world, one's understanding of how the world works, how does that relate to everyone in the world and sort of encompass everyone's experience? As a Mormon, this was super important to me, and it also turned out to be one of the main reasons I ended up leaving the church. So it's an important topic. I'm going to give just one example here of how, as a Mormon, I believed that my theology applied to everyone and encompassed the whole world. And that example is temple work for the dead. So, just in a nutshell, temple work for the dead is where believing members of the church go to the temple and perform ordinances, which, according to Mormon theology, are essential for every individual to have before being able to access full salvation. And as members of the church, we go to the temple to perform these ordinances first for ourselves, and then every other time we go to the temple, we perform it on behalf of someone who's already died. And in this way, we work to extend the blessings of salvation to everyone eventually. Of course, we don't have records and know the names of all the people who've died, but the idea is that eventually we learn all those names and we extend the blessings of salvation to everyone who's ever lived. So this is a way that I think as Mormons we extend our theology to the whole world. So, of course, this understanding of work for the dead and how my Mormon theology extended to the whole world, that worked for me for a long time. But it was really learning about other religions and other people and how they believe and have sincere experiences that really started to break down my faith in my one true understanding of how the world worked. I'm going to read you a quote from somebody who went through a similar experience, even though we came out of the experience in two very different ways. So this is a quote from David Butler. He's a very popular influencer, author, and teacher. He teaches Institute within the LDS Church. And this is what he said when he had an experience teaching a class called World Religions, which basically teaches about world religions from an LDS perspective. So here's what he said. You could walk away from a study of world religion with two conclusions. I flirted with both of them. Naturally, one is it's all a farce. We've all just made up a way to explain the world that we see around us. Or the other conclusion is that God is much bigger and more involved than we actually ever imagined. And I landed on B. He's more involved and in more places than I ever thought he was. I don't need to find him in a specific church. And as I looked at world religions, I thought, if there are so many multiple ways of relating to him, then there must be a multiplicity of ways he relates to us. So, David Butler, you ended up on B, and I ended up on A. I think that it's all a farce, and we've made up a way to explain the world around us. And isn't it simpler to just think of religion as something that people have come up with to try to explain the world around us, rather than trying to understand a God who at once is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-loving, and who wants his children to understand him, and yet has all of these very different and incompatible ways of relating to his children. And indeed, it was this kind of universality that, in my opinion, was an extension of my own empathy. It was really listening to people in other religions and understanding that they were having sincere, real experiences that led me to question seriously, and eventually led me to the conclusion that no, it's much more likely that religion is invented by people as a way of trying to understand the world, as opposed to the opposite, religion being something that God has created and given to people. So, Does the secular community have anything similar to give us? Does the secular community have a worldview that encompasses all of humanity? Yes, they do. And I want to just throw out there evolution. I just want to give you a little internet rabbit hole to go down if you're feeling so inclined. Go to the Wikipedia page called Evidence of Common Descent. Wow, what a mind-blowing Wikipedia page to go through. It's huge and it's detailed, and there's so many just intricate little things that you could spend all day reading about. But at the end of the day, here's the point. There is overwhelming evidence that all of life, or all of life that we know of, or at least the vast majority of life, comes from one ancestor, one common beginning of life on Earth. What does that mean? We're all brothers and sisters in such a powerful way. In other words, all life has value and deserves respect. And even simple animals, bacteria and fungi and whatnot, they're living things too. In a very important way, we are all part of an interdependent web of life. This is a very powerful universality to have in our worldview. So anyway, to wrap things up, I just want to say that this is an amazing world that we live in. And we are all brothers and sisters as humans and as living creatures. And we all deserve each other's respect. And we can do good to our fellow living creatures. And we can do good for goodness sake.